First of all, New Society started on September 21, 1972. It tried to stop pornography or those writings giving bad influences on the morals of the people. Another, Ministry of Public Affairs were established by the military government, supervised the newspapers, books, and others. What are the objectives of the new society? First is to save the republic. Second, peace and order. Third, land reforms. Fourth, educational reforms. Fifth, government reorganization. Sixth, social services. And lastly is the economic reform.
As of the 21st of this month, I signed Proclamation number 1081, placing the entire Philippines under martial law.
Not everything about martial law is bad. There are some good things that happened during Marcos' administration. With the help of former First Lady Imelda Marcos, establishments and organizations were formed, such as the Lung Center of the Philippines, Philippine Heart Center, Philippine Children's Hospital, Philippine International Convention Center, Philippine Film Center, Folks Art Theater, San Juanico Beach, the Coconut Palace, and the North and South Luzon Expressways. So why was martial law implemented? During Marcos' first term, student activists joined communist movements such as Kabataang Makabayan, founded by Jose Maria Sison. This was followed by the first quarter storm, wherein activists violently rallied outside the presidential palace. A year after that, Plaza Miranda bombing happened, followed by the MV Karagatan incident.
One's capability to meet any threat against the city government and against the peace and order.
All of those incidents led to the declaration of martial law. Under martial law, law-abiding citizens lived peacefully, and corruption under Bureau of Customs and Bureau of Internal Revenue was stopped. Criminals and communist leaders were also apprehended under martial law.
You don't have to be afraid of martial law if you don't do anything not bad. Those who are afraid of martial law are those people who are doing illegal things.
What happened under martial law? Through various general orders, Marcos effectively put the entire power of government under the rule of one man, his own. He was to lead the nation and direct the operation of the entire government. He ordered the armed forces to prevent or suppress any act of rebellion. Curfew hours were enforced. Group assemblies were banned. Privately owned media facilities were shuttered. Those considered threats to Marcos, such as prominent politicians and members of the media, were rounded up and arrested by members of the military and the notorious Philippine Constabulary. The Marcoses also plundered the country's coffers, with various estimates putting the amount at between $5 billion to $10 billion. Aside from the billions in illegally amassed wealth, human rights abuses were rampant during those days. About 70,000 people were imprisoned and 34,000 tortured, according to Amnesty International, while 3,240 were killed from 1972 to 1981. During this dark chapter of Philippine history, thousands of people were subject to various forms of torture. Prisoners were electrocuted, beaten up, and strangled. They were burned with flat iron or cigars. Water was poured down their throats. then forced out by beating. Women were stripped naked and raped. Various objects forced into their genitals. It has been many years since then, but the victims have not forgotten, especially as the Marcoses have neither acknowledged their crimes nor made reparations for their sins.
They made me sit on ice, and I was deep into a pail of water, a drum of water, and then bullets were pressed in between my right hand. Actually, that's why up to now my right hand is still in pain. So that's why I suffer the pain 24/7 now, out of that fracture that was created when I was 13 by that Ferdinand dictator Marcos soldier.
EDSA revolution happened on February 22 to 25 of 1986. It was so-called bloodless revolution and was praised worldwide. After Ninoy Aquino's assassination, yellow has been the color of the revolution. Tie a Yellow Ribbon was Ninoy's comeback song since he was then assassinated while walking off the plane. That's why Filipinos use yellow as their symbol of rebellion. It was on November 23, 1985, when President Marcos suddenly announced a snap presidential election, 1 year ahead of the regular presidential election schedule following his control over the country. Snap election was legalized with the passage of National Law No. 883 by the Marcos-controlled unicameral Congress called the Regular Batasang Pambansa. Corazon Aquino was a bit of hesitant to go against Marcos for the snap election. However, 1 million signatures of Filipinos was presented to her that encouraged her to make a decision. During the snap election, the official tally of the votes did not come together. The COMELEC declared that Marcos was the winner with 10,807,197 votes against Aquino, who has 9,291,761 votes. While the National Movement for Free Election, or NAMFREL, had Aquino winning with 7,835,070 votes against Marcos with only 7,053,068 votes. On February 22, Fidel Ramos joined in a press conference in Camp Aguinaldo after being notified by Juan Ponce Enrile and announced their resignations and defection to the opposition. During the revolution, Cardinal Sin was the one who led the Catholic Church. The only radio station during the revolution was Radio Veritas, which covered events. However, Radio Veritas' transmission tower was destroyed by the armed soldiers, cutting off all news of the rebellion. Corazon Aquino was not in EDSA during the entire revolution because she was in Cebu. She was conducting her own protest there. On February 25, 1986, there were two inaugurations happened. Marcos held his in Malacanang, while Aquino held hers in Club Filipino. And on the day Marcos and his family left the country for exile in Hawaii, Corazon Aquino was inaugurated as the 11th and first female president of the country.